Hello everybody, how are you going? And welcome to an American, British and Australian talk about common English mistakes that are made all around the world. And I think that is a very fair enough thing, given how sometimes difficult and non-logical English pronunciations can be, and the fact that English is deemed kind of the golden language from pilots and all those kind of professions having to learn it. It makes sense that a lot of people want to learn it, but have no basis to do it. And so they're making little mistakes or big mistakes, but they're definitely justified.
Hi, I'm Christina from the US.
Hi, I'm Ryan from the UK.
Hi, I'm Mia from Australia.
Like the words A and B is a little tricky.
Singular and plural. So when they speak, I have two child, and it should be I have two children, because the plural.
I guess like fishes. I don't know. That's like a big
Yes.
thing I've heard too. A lot of non-native speakers will often say like fishes, because like there's some words in English where the word for one is the word for also many.
Yeah. Like sheep, fish, not too many others come to mind right away, but it's definitely, like I said, a very fair enough mistake to be making, considering, well, you just never know what it's going to be unless you actually know what it is. There's no way to deduce what it may be, let alone when you were talking about the plural word just completely being a different word. You're not just chucking an S on the end or chucking even an ES on the end. No, you're going from child to children. You're adding a ren on the end. Where does that possibly fit into the entire English dictionary? I don't know, and it's just ridiculous, and so I don't blame people for making it, from what they've said so far, very easy common mistakes. You've got the base word, you think that you could build upon it, not completely change it.
You're so tired, you should go home.
You should go home.
Oh.
That's all right.
It's rather forward, isn't it?
But there's
Like
nothing
I've
wrong with
noticed
it.
that like especially in just Asian countries in general, that they tend to be more forward with like, you know, you look hungry, you look tired, you look like, you know, skinny or
you look
fat,
fat.
whatever. Yeah, but they mean it in a caring like
Caring
way.
way.
It's like I've noticed that are you okay? Like, but for us, it's more rude to be that forward to someone in that way, right?
It can
How
make you
would
feel
you
a
be
little
saying that?
uncomfortable, like, oh, why are you looking at me? So, yeah, it's a little bit different.
Firstly, how often is this a phrase that is actually being said? I don't think I've ever heard this be uttered. I mean, it sounds completely grammatically correct. You look tired, you should go home. I mean, yes, it's a little bit forward, and perhaps you could say, oh, are you a bit tired? Do you want to go home? Instead of you should go home. But realistically, if someone's noticing to the point where you look tired, you probably just should go home. I mean, you're not always going to be able to, but should and can are two different things. And so whether you're being forward or just stating the truth, that's two fair different comments, I think.
Or they say things like, which are meant in such a sweet way. They'll be like, you look old, but what they mean is you look mature, or you look like kind of
Okay, but that's more
wiser
of a
or
mistake.
something like that, but like,
Right.
You look
wow,
old.
Ryan, you look really old today, really good. And I'm like, I'm like, really old?
Come again?
Tears streaming down my face.
I can certainly understand why that one will be catching a few more people off guard. As old, for better or worse, does generally have a negative connotation to it. It's not like you go, wow, yeah, I'm feeling so old today. You know, my bones are really just creaking and I'm loving it. And so for someone to go, you look old, you're going, I don't really want that, thanks. I would rather look the opposite of that. However, when you are just missing the substitution and going wise or mature, they are quite specific words for how often people would really use them. You know, most of the time people are going to be learning the language. They're going to be learning it to be able to get around and get by, not to be going, oh yes, you look very mature today.
So I think instead of you look tired, you should go home. Maybe you should ask, oh, how are you feeling today?
That's just not the
Instead
same
of
thing,
saying
though.
you look like.
That's not what they're saying, though.
Yeah.
Maybe instead like, something's different about you today.
Yes, that's perfect. Yes.
Yeah, because then it's like, you know, you're waiting for them to tell you what's different. Like, it's a very good thing. Like something's different about you today, and then they'll be like, oh yeah, like apart from people that then go, what is it that's different about me today?
Yeah, that's just not going to work. And it's so grossly, pathetically just passive. Like, why are you going, yeah, something looks different about you today? Because that is leading them on to believe that you're noticing something good, because most people aren't going to want to be noticing something bad or have someone notice something about them that is going to be bad. And so if someone goes, something looks different about you today, you go, well, I didn't get my hair cut. I didn't think I changed my eye color or anything, and so I don't really know what it would be, but maybe I just look a little bit different for whatever reason. And then for them to whip out the, yeah, you look a little bit tired, that's just a roller coaster of emotions that I don't think anyone wants to be going on. And so I would much rather someone be forward and say, oh, you look tired, you should go to bed, you should go to sleep, you should go home, or did you have a big night, or any of those things, because I could probably most likely back it up and go, yeah, I did have a big night. Yeah, I have been feeling exhausted. So I honestly do not see anything wrong with that entire phrase. I understand that they are providing different circumstances, perhaps maybe more gentle ways to approach things, but I just think there's no point. Why are you scared and afraid and want to hide behind looking tired? It's not a big deal.
Or like, if you do want to say something like your opinion, I feel like we can also be very like, try and say all the like softening. So it's like, you seem a little bit tired in some kind of way, I think. Is that true? Are you a little,
or relate it to yourself. If you relate it to yourself, you're always in for a win. If someone's like, if you see someone, they look tired and you go, I'm absolutely knackered at the moment. How are you feeling?
That's true.
And
That's
then
pretty good.
It's like,
Yeah. What was that? I don't know what was going on there, but I do like that one because it makes them feel more at home within what they are feeling at the moment. You know, generally if someone's going to be going, oh, you look tired, someone's going to be a little bit on the back pedal because they might feel like all of a sudden they're the odd one out, that everyone else is just glowing and they're the only tired looking one. But if you go, oh, I am tired at the moment, how are you feeling? Because I know we've had a big week or whatever it may be, then they can go, yeah, actually, I am feeling really run down today. That's a more mutually exclusive conversation or non-mutually exclusive conversation where you can actually build upon the entire thing instead of just singling someone out, but then also not trying to single them out, just being too soft and wasting oxygen, saying about 50 billion more words that don't need to be said.
What was that reaction?
In what context? What?
some people are, and that's okay.
You do you.
You do you. It's not about us. It's about what makes you happy.
You know, I've heard this. I've heard this before. I've heard this before.
Yeah, every day.
Before, and I just lost my.
Yeah.
I was like,
It's very much a mental process that you have to go through.
It's like, oh, you're so innocent, but you don't know.
Yeah. But it is hard to describe, like, when something is, like, hard or difficult. Like, how do you describe the
Not today.
Calm down, sir.
difficult? How do you describe that, like, feeling of, like, oh, like, we don't have a word for that, right? So I think that's...
Frustrated.
Are they trying to say, I am overwhelmed? Is that more the context of it? Because that's truly what I was wondering. What word substitution game were we playing? Were they trying to substitute the start or the end of the entire thing? Because it changes the entire thing to go, this is hard, or I am overwhelmed. That could be the two separate ways you could go about it. However, on the scale of beginner to absolutely fluent, I feel as though this one's a little bit earlier in the entire journey, as here you're just missing entire words compared to just making little mistakes like putting S's or E's or RENs, whatever you want to be changing the plural to, as we saw in the start. And so this one, even though it may be difficult to describe what you are feeling because you do have a word in the original language, your native language, and then you're trying to translate that into English and it doesn't really go perfectly, then I can understand why it's difficult, but you're more so just missing vocab compared to grammatical errors.
It might be they're going through a tough time.
Right.
It might be that they feel tired.
You're
It
not-
might be
you
just
aren't
in
tough.
general they're not feeling it. Like there's so many different ways that you can kind of express it. Or like life might be just absolutely kicking their ass at the moment. Like
Yeah.
there's so many things, but then they're like in them that they're like,
Yeah.
I am hard, and I'm like, that is not what you meant.
Right, exactly.
The same metric, like they were just saying, you can have, life can be hard. So many things can be hard. The task can be hard, life can be hard. Overwhelmed, I guess, is the other word that keeps coming to mind for me. But when you just say, I am, at the start of the entire thing, it completely changes it and it just doesn't really work, especially for not what you were trying to say there.
Unless it is what you meant.
If you don't have the like vocabulary
Yeah,
yet,
exactly.
then it's like, how do you express yourself? So instead of saying I am hard, you should say maybe I'm having a hard time, because the
Yeah.
time is
Yeah.
hard. You have to say what's hard. The time. We're talking about time here.
Time is hard.
That is That's a fair enough.
I'm going through it. Like,
You just need more words.
That's
It's as simple as that.
I'm struggling.
Yeah.
It's, like slang in the UK, like you'd just be like, oh, long day. Like it's so simple
Yeah.
and it's not even really slang, but it
Yeah.
it says so much. It speaks to the people. She's like,
does.
oh, she's like, oh, long day. Double negative.
No.
Yeah.
See?
This is how everyone talks. It's just
Yeah.
wrong.
Like, I don't know
It's-
nothing.
Yeah, it's like not proper English, but people would say it.
Yeah.
Native
Yeah.
English speakers would talk like this, but it's not proper.
Yeah.
Sure.
And you can also absolutely understand what they're saying. The other ones, like I said, I didn't really know what they were saying, and you would have to have more context surrounding either the entire conversation or how they're looking. If they are looking tired, so to say, then at least you can understand. But I don't know nothing about math. You could go, yeah, that's entirely fine. I don't know nothing about math. I don't know anything. It's a very similar word, I would say, overall. And nothing versus anything, I'll pass them any day. Absolutely. If you can't understand what that person is trying to say, I think you probably don't know anything about English.
Don't and nothing, they cancel each other out. So it would
Right.
be that you do know something. Because you have to say,
Yeah,
I know
technically.
nothing about math,
Right.
or don't know something
Or
about.
I don't know anything.
Or don't know
about
anything,
it.
yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. He went to I don't know something, and both the Australians went to I don't know anything. Maybe that is just the general vocabulary that is used within each country. That's a weird one that we both immediately jumped to anything over something, or even the other way around where he said I know nothing. That one, I don't feel as though many people would say I know nothing about this. They would say I don't know anything instead of I know nothing. It's longer, but it almost feels shorter. And that's strange.
Oh, I've not got a clue. Or I've got no clue.
Wait, is he saying I don't have a clue to the question, or I don't have a clue as the answer to the question?
Got no idea.
No idea.
Yeah. They're all those. Oh, what? Thanks God I got 100 on my exam.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Just
this one
writing
is
an
like,
email.
Thanks, comma, God. I got 100 on my exam.
Why?
Exclamation mark.
So, in all
Where's the
fairness,
comma coming from?
people could say this, you know, you've
Yeah.
been praying to God and you're like,
Yeah.
thanks, God, I got 100%. But that is not in the same context as like, oh, thank God I got 100%.
No, but what it is as well is it's grammatically correct because
Sure.
in theory, prior to a noun, you have the comma, right?
Yeah,
It'd be
exactly.
like thanks, Adam.
Exactly.
Ugh. I don't like the fact that that's that. That feels wrong. That entire thing, as much as the words are correct, the comma just throws the whole sentence off. And I don't like it. Actually, staring at it a bit more now, I'm realizing that it's the thanks that is also throwing me off. The S on the end of thanks, which would usually just be thank God, I got 100% on my exam, compared to thanks God with a comma in there. There's just a little square around there that makes all the difference. And I don't know, it looks fine, and obviously you know what you're talking and what they're saying, but it does sound a little bit weird when it's written like that.
Exactly, yeah.
Like if you are
Talking.
speaking to God,
Yeah.
it's
Right.
correct. But if you're just saying it to yourself,
Colloquially correct.
then that's just like a phrase, like, oh, thank God.
Yeah. Get
Exactly.
rid of the S and get rid of the comma. Just
Yeah.
Yeah,
thank
just
God I
thank
got
God.
100% in my exam.
But if you're like kneeling and you're looking up, you're like, thanks God,
Yeah, exactly.
I got 100 on my math exam. If you're actually
Exclamation mark.
talking to God.
Yeah.
My recent one is stunning.
Oh.
Everything I say stunning towards.
Ooh.
Yeah, because it's just a nice word, isn't it? And it came from stunning. It came from that
How is that a
TikTok.
reference?
The Spagliato.
Yeah. Oh, so like if so,
What?
my friend
It's
maybe they got
stunning that
a
I got
job or they
100%?
got a really good test result, and they'd be like, "Oh Ryan, I did this," and I'd be like, "Oh, stunning! That's amazing."
That's fine when you're talking about it to a third person, like in a third person point of view, or I guess not really to yourself. I just don't think it works. You can't be going, yes, that's stunning. Or it's a little bit up yourself to be saying, yes, that's stunning, if you're saying that you're happy that you got 100% in your exam. And also the fact that you're only 100. Like usually you say the kind of thanks God when you just scraped by, oh, thank God I scraped by, I just got 51%, I got exactly the mark I needed, whatever it may be, not 100. And so maybe that entire sentence is actually correct. You'd be going, thanks God, I got 100% on my exam compared to thank God I got 20%. I was expecting to get a 0. The connotation between those two are very, very different, and I feel like the actual grammatically correct way of writing them out is either correct or incorrect based on what you're really trying to convey there. So in terms of some alternatives to that phrase, I honestly cannot think of that many, and I do think that it would also matter what version of English, what country's English you would be using, because you might say, bloody hell, I only got 100% of my exam, that's pretty good. Or you might go, bloody hell, I only got 20% of my exam. But that really only applies in Australian context, so I don't know about the other two.
I think I'll just be like, oh, nice, I got 100 on my exam. I'm like, oh, I'm so relieved.
Yeah.
I got 100.
That makes sense.
I know there's a bunch of like very Aussie ways, like, oh, you beaut, or like,
Beaut.
Oh!
That's the kind of
like
ones
I think it's short for beautiful.
Yeah.
Like, oh, beautiful, but like, oh, beaut. Oh, that's such like, oh, oh, you beaut, you got 100 on your exam. Good on ya. Anya.
Yeah. But once again, they're all third-person perspectives. I don't know what the word would be. Just you're trying to convey and either be proud or whatever you want to be calling that for another person, compared to going, thank God, and actually looking inwards upon yourself and going, thank God I got 100% on my exam. There aren't too many other ways to say that are coming to mind, and they are similarly having the same problem that I'm having. So I'll try and think of it. And otherwise, there just isn't any.
So like number one, be more specific and clear about what you're trying to say.
And every
At the end of your
language.
sentence, try and be specific about what it is. So instead of saying something like, I'm good, maybe like, that's really native, but I'm in a good mood. Or it's bad, it's a bad time, it's bad period. Like those kinds of things that just make everything a little bit more clear.
Yeah,
Second
is it clear?
tip could be like just learning more synonyms for different words, because
That's hard.
usually, when you're learning English, it's easy to just stick to like good, happy, sad, like the very sort of generic. But if you sort of learn more specific words, like, I don't know, instead of I'm good, I'm elated, I'm like ecstatic, I'm joyful, I'm not sure.
Whoa, slow down there. I don't think you need to be learning elated as a non-English speaker if you're still learning the language. If you are trying to achieve absolute masterful fluency, then go for it. But elated is one of the first words that came to her mind. That is impressive, I must say. I would have thought she was just going to say, I'm joyful. Instead of just saying, I'm good, I'm bad, I'm sad, I'm happy, you could go, I mean, it is weird though, jumping back to what he was saying, where it is almost less formal to say, I am good, I am bad, compared to adding more words in, because I guess we are looking for more specifics, but I guess we are looking for specifics in the words exactly. Like, you're not really ever just bad. You can be having troubles. I am having troubles. I am this, I am that, compared to I am bad, because nothing ever feels like you can just be bad. Like, there has to be some kind of rainbow somewhere, some kind of sunlight. I mean, it's a pretty bleak situation that you are in if you are just bad. If you are bad, it doesn't really make sense, I guess, either. Then it makes you feel like you are evil. It more leans towards those meaning of words compared to just being, I am unhappy. It does also make me wonder how many languages have the breadth of synonyms, so to say, that we in English have, because there are a lot of words that basically mean the same thing. And yes, you are getting into more specifics if you are trying to convey a particular point compared to a different one. However, colloquially, you can basically just use them all and everyone's going to understand you generally. As long as the grammatical errors aren't there, you should be fine. However, is that a thing in other languages? Because I know a lot of languages, of course, they swap around the order and sentence structure, but I think they're also more to the point and more direct, like they were saying at the start. Like, you look tired, you should go home. Instead of, oh, are you a bit tired? Like, English adds and can add a lot more words to soften the blow, but also just because there are so many words.
So for me, I really like idioms, and I feel like it makes you sound like you're more of a native speaker. So like, for example, let's call it a day means let's finish what we're doing for the day, or let's wrap it up. Let's finish and go quickly. I think learning some idioms can really help you sound like a native English speaker. So yeah, when I used to teach English, I used to always have like one idiom of the day or something that I would teach.
Wow.
And try and make the idiom like, try and learn it from someone native, because sometimes, you know, if you search idioms on the internet, you end up with like something from the 18th century.
True, yeah.
Fair enough.
Today's shoe. Let's call it a day. No, I'm kidding.
That's cool. Right. Jeez, I mean, I know that these guys film multiple videos in a day, but I do like her point where having these more colloquial phrases will make you feel, if you are trying to go for it, feel more a part of the crew. Or I guess just in general, less robotic. If you are just super structured, like, I am bad, I am happy, I am whatever, it doesn't really work long term, where people can really just very quickly single you out, go, you clearly can speak English, but you're not one of us. You're not a fluent master, and that's completely fine. Like I said, English, on the scale of languages, especially compared to a lot of language in terms of transferring over, is not going to be easy. There are plenty of people that are native English speakers that struggle with English, and I'm sure everyone is constantly learning, like with any language. However, I do like the point, like I said, with idioms and just having these little things, either whether it's a ute or a yui or a servo, if that's just all Australian examples, but if you have just slang as well that you can interject into there whenever possible, I think that would also really help you just come across as less of a robot and more of a human being. Because like you said, you can search something up and it says, oh, no equals this, and you go, okay, ear, and you go, oh, no one says that ever. What are you talking about? You just kind of skirt around it or whatever. Or on the other flip side, you may say, yes, absolutely, this is 100% this thing, when it's not. And look, even though I didn't agree with everything that they said, I do think that they provided some fairly reasonable examples that if you did glean certain things from, whether that's slang or idioms, I do think that you could improve your English level and, just like I said, become less of a robot. Because I guess when you're trying to become fluent or learn a language, that's what you're trying to be. Everyone can just learn to repeat a phrase or repeat a sound, but if you're trying to learn to kind of fit into a language, that's truly what you're trying to do. And so, as much as English can be very difficult to learn, especially if you're coming from certain languages, Southeast Asian languages or anything like that, they're very, very different, and you can never blame someone for making mistakes, but it's always good to keep on learning.